guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video. Today I want to share with you a weekly wrap-up kind of thing, a weekly update of what I've been reading over the past week. I've come to notice that I haven't been very active on doing anything bookish content lately, and I haven't done any monthly wrap-ups in a while, and I don't know why, but I thought instead of forcing myself to do those monthly wrap-ups, at this time I'm going to try and see if I can do an update of what I'm reading over the week, every week, and see how that goes, and maybe get a sort of routine in again. My reason for not wearing my glasses today is I have a ring light that I just bought to try and see and get a little bit better lighting in here. I've noticed that my windows over here, they are quite small. My washer is just finished, so I'm gonna open that just a second. Otherwise it's just gonna keep on beeping for the next couple of minutes. But I have two windows over here, but they are rather small, so the light goes downwards, so it will sort of cut me here, and so I don't get any light in my face as I did with my old apartment. So I decided, because I saw a deal, actually my sister saw a deal of a ring light in a discount store here, and it's a little bigger than the one I already had. The one I had is a really tiny one that works well for some things, but definitely not for filming like this. So this one is a little higher. I think it goes up a little better and it's a little bigger, so I hope that also when we come into the darker months that we are going towards, that it's going to be easier for me to film something. So hopefully this will work out. So that's why I'm not wearing glasses, because the rings will be in my glasses and it looks stupid. So over the past week I actually managed to finish 4 books. I definitely started getting my reading groove back after I've been not feeling like reading a lot, and also because of the Olympics. I was just watching a lot of sports over the July and August, beginning of August. And so it wasn't until this past week that I got back to a normal routine. So when I came home, I could actually sit down and read. Because the thing has been that when I started work again, when I came home, I had to catch up on all of the Olympic events that happened over the day. And some of it I wasn't able to at least read anything. So yeah, that's how it went. Let's get started with what I've been reading over the past week. I have finished 4 books, as I said. 3 of them were audios, 1 of them was a physical book. And yeah, the first book that I finished over the past week was Murder on Trinity, placed by Victoria Thompson. This is the next book in the Gaslight Mystery series. This is I think the 22nd or something like that. This one was very interesting. There was a lot of talk about milkmen back then in the 1800s or turn of the century, and some mysterious theories regarding the turn of the century, which was interesting. And then there was a murder that happened to a man who claimed that the turn of the century was right now and not a year later or something like that. Because he had theories that suggested that he was right and all of that, and he really believed in them, and people were annoyed with him for saying them. And so I don't know, but it turned into an investigation and sort of like that. I, as usual, pretty much enjoyed this one. It's back to being a fun murder mystery series or cozy mystery series again, and I just really enjoy the sort of found family between some of the characters, and how all of the characters seem to develop over the books. I've had a bit of a cough over the past week. Last weekend it started. I went and had a PCR test on Sunday to make sure that it wasn't anything like COVID or something, and it wasn't. It's just a cold kind of thing. And I've been coughing like crazy over the past week, and it's still here, but it's not as bad anymore. And it's been both me, my sister, the mother of my nephew and niece, my nephew and my niece have been sick. My niece actually had a fever, and they had to go to the hospital because newborns under a month is not supposed to have a fever. So yeah, it's been a really rough start for them. More on that later. Anyway, let's get on to the books. So Murder on Trinity Place, and this is just as good as the others. Not the best one in the series for sure, but it's still, I was really entertained, and I was really curious about the mystery, and I really enjoy how the characters are developing. So I end up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I also read The Dark Half by Stephen King. This is a book that Stephen King wrote after everyone found out about his pseudonym name, Richard Bachman. Richard Bachman, he wrote those books in secrecy, and no one really knew it was him, so that he could try and do something different and figure out if he was just a good author or if it was because of his name that people kept, like the Stephen King name that he branded himself, that was what made the sales, or if he could actually make the sales in a different name as well. But then people found out about it, and then this book happened, and this is basically talking about putting an author, saying goodbye to an author or something like that, with a twist. Obviously it follows this man who's an author who is writing these literary fiction novels that doesn't do super well, probably. And then he has this other name, the pseudonym name, that writes crime novels, called George Stark, who is a terrible villain kind of thing. And they sell like crazy. They are high in the charts and stuff like that. But then somehow it comes out that they are the same person, and he has to put George Stark to rest. So he sort of does a sort of fun gimmick about it and said he buried George Stark and stuff like that. But in actuality, George Stark is a real entity, and he is evil, and he is waking up and doing stuff. And so that is how the basic premise of the story, and it was definitely interesting. It wasn't one of the longer Stephen King books, which I was happy about after having read the Tommyknockers, which was 900 pages. But I still don't think this is up there with any of the others. I thought it was a fun gimmick, and I thought that it was okay, but it was overall just a 3.5 star for me. And I hope that the next coming books will be better. But yeah, I'm happy I definitely read on in my Stephen King reading project, and I actually now have read another 5 books, so I can make a new batch review kind of thing, which I've been doing with all of the Stephen King books that I've read. After 5, I've sort of done a video about them and talked a little bit about each and every book, a little more in depth, and then talking a little bit about my favorites sometimes that I've read so far. The next one I read was The Winter Duchess by Jillian Eaton, I think that's her name. This is a short novella that's set around Christmas. I didn't realize this. Obviously, I should have thought about it when it's called like The Winter Duchess. Anyway, we're following this girl who is to be married with this Duke, and she's very much afraid of him. She's afraid of going into this relationship, but he's more afraid of saying no because of the wrath of her mother. So she feels like she's trapped in this, and so she is getting married against her will. But she ends up marrying him and going to his lands. It's like on the outskirts and stuff, and he treats her horribly all the time. He's very angry and keeps belittling her and telling her things bad, like talking down to her with each opportunity he gets. He can sort of find something negative to say about her, and so she's having a miserable time. But obviously, as time progresses, things change a little bit, and she sort of starts setting ultimatums. And overall, it was a easy story to read. It's only 185 pages or 181 pages or something like that. So it's very quick to get through it. But it really annoyed me how the Duke treated her. He had been seeing his parents fight constantly, and I don't know how he thought that he should do the same thing, because he definitely knew it was wrong, and I don't know why he suddenly chose to do the same thing as his parents did. None of them were very good people, and no matter how much he tried to remedy himself towards the end, I just couldn't let that go, that he was so horrible to her in the majority of the book. And I don't know why, and it's just something that doesn't usually work for me, and so I ended up giving it 3 stars because I really liked our main character. I think she was an interesting character, and I like how she sort of bonded with the maid and other people, and what she tried to do in order to sort of pick herself up, if you will, and not let him boss her around all the time, and actually give some comebacks and not just go crying in a corner or something like that she did in the beginning. So I thought that her development in that area was really good. And yeah, so because of that element I enjoyed it, but the Duke really dragged it down, the romance dragged it down a lot, so that's why it ended up on a 3 out of 5 stars. The fourth and final book that I read over the past week was Crywolf by Patricia Briggs. This is the first book in the Alpha and Omega series, which is a spin-off series to the Mercy Thompson universe. According to the Mercyverse order, you're supposed to read this after reading book 3 in the Mercy Thompson series, and I definitely saw the sort of relations in when this happened, because of there's a wolf in here called Sam who is also in the Mercy Thompson books, and he goes there in the 3rd book, I believe, and a second, 3rd book, and he's there for in the beginning of the series. I think he's pretty absent at this point in the Mercyverse, but still, in this one we are basically mostly following Anna and Charles. Anna is this Omega from a wolf pack, where she was forced to be changed into a werewolf. She was abused by the werewolf alpha of that pack, and Charles has come to sort of kill the alpha and save the wolves in this pack, to make sure that they can get away from that abusive man. So when Charles comes and picks Anna up, they have an instant sort of attraction towards each other because they are to be mated. Charles is sort of the second in the werewolf pack, where the Merrick Bran the Merrick is the alpha, and Bran is the alpha of all werewolf packs in definitely Northern America. I forgot if he's like all of the Northern Hemisphere or something like that, but I think it's just North America. Anyway, so Charles is known as this sort of has some psychotic tendencies. A lot of people are afraid of him because of some things that he went through, and he has a tendency to show off a little bit of, but they form a friendship relationship kind of thing. And then we see, actually in this one, we also see perspectives from some other characters, which I'm not super used to from the Mercy books. In the Mercy books we have the perspective of Mercy for the majority of the book, and then sometimes we'll have a chapter or two by Adam, but those are the only two we ever have like a perspective from. So when she's writing from this one, she's writing from Anna's perspective, Charles' perspective, there's also Bran's perspective, and then there was Asil who is a 4th point of view. So we have quite a few point of views in here, and I'm not used to that with a Patricia Briggs book. However, yeah, this turns into a situation where Anna and Charles has to go and fight off this rogue wolf that seems to attack humans, and leave them for people to fend for themselves, and then they turn into wolves and stuff. And it turns out that there are ties to Asil in this one, with this case, and it turns into like the story. Overall, I enjoyed reading this. Patricia Briggs definitely knows how to write a good urban fantasy book. I just don't think I don't prefer the characters as much. I think I will grow to enjoy Anna and Charles, but I don't know if I like the format where we are getting so many point of views in this, if it's necessary, because the stories are relatively short. But I'm looking forward to reading on in it, and hopefully I will definitely enjoy it more as the series progresses. But so far this was a 4 out of 5 stars for me, but it was my favorite book of the week, I think. I'm happy I read it, I finished it. It's the first physical book that I finished of the month, with the exception of a manga. But so those were the things that I've finished over the week. I also have 2 books that I'm currently working on. One of them is Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. I am currently about 20% into the book. I just started it yesterday. It's relatively quickly read. It follows this girl who is a private investigator. She is taken on to a case of this mage who is mage on this magical school, where her sister is going. Her sister is a magical user. She is not, our main character is not. She doesn't have any magical abilities. However, she's asked to try and solve a murder of this mage that the police claim to be an accident, because they don't want to see what's there. And so she is there to try and solve a murder, and right now she's at the boarding school kind of thing, and trying to talk to different people around the school. So it's very interesting. It's very fast-paced so far. I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it will all end up. The other book that I'm also currently working on is The Unseen Academicals by Patricia. I am on page 245 out of 399, so I have about 150 pages left. I have about 2 hours left of the audio. I have really enjoyed it. It is a Rincewind book, and he hasn't been in it very much, but he is in it now. At this point he is also luggage is part of it, and they're sort of establishing a football tournament. Yeah, I'm enjoying it overall, but I'm not loving it, but I'm enjoying it, as I will always enjoy Tara Pratchett. So great, that's great. Otherwise, I do have a couple of plans for next week. I'm hoping, I haven't heard back from her yet, so I don't know for certain, but I'm hoping that I will be able to read Night Pleasures by Jillian Kenyon. This is the second book in the Night Hunter series, or actually it's the first one in the main Night Hunter series, but we read a prequel story kind of thing last month, and this month we're going to start out with that one, Night Pleasures, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ties in with the first book that we read and what is to happen with this. I want to obviously finish the books I'm currently working on. I don't know if I have any set plans for my audios yet. I will have to decide of that this evening, but I do seem to have quite a bit of audio time these days, so I hope this works out. Anyway, I think earlier in the video I talked a little bit about my niece and how it's been a difficult time. She, just as Buster, when he was born, he was it was not easy getting the nursing to work. So she was taken to hospital for a while, trying to get it moving and get it up and going, because she wasn't weighing enough. The same thing happened with my niece, and then she had this illness when she got sick and got a fever, so she had to go to the hospital again. But it turns out it was just more of a cold than it was anything else, and it was like that. But it was still very early she was able to get this, and then she had actually some of her navel. It didn't close tight before she was born, which usually happens a week or so, a couple of weeks before the babies are born. The navel will sort of shut itself, so it go through the right way anyway. So but that didn't happen, so there is a pee leaking out of her navel, and so she has to have a surgery sometime soon. So it's been a really rough start with her, and I obviously we are hoping for the best. It's not a big procedure, it's not but it's never easy when it's like these small kids, and it shouldn't be like that, but it's something that's necessary in order for things to work out properly. And I don't think anyone really knows about how, my sister doesn't know at this point what is to happen completely. She is to have a meeting with a doctor where she was told about the procedure and everything that she needs to know, and she can ask all of the questions that she has, and then afterwards there will be the procedure, and we'll see how that goes. But it also means that they really have no energy for anything else than actually looking after their kids. So and it's difficult also because they also need to use so much time on her that they can't use as much time as they want to with Buster, my nephew, and luckily things seems to work a little better, a little smoother now. But because she's still not nursing properly, she's not eating enough, she has to pump out every time she has like eaten, and so it takes a lot of time, and then she has to desanitize all of the bottles and all of that. So she definitely wants to make the nursing work because all of the other hassle is too much. But we'll see if it happens. It can end up not going the way she wants to, but also because she's been sick over the past week, it's probably affected her productivity in that area. So hopefully when she's feeling better, it will go up to a sort of norm, hopefully. We'll see over the next week. This turned out a little longer than necessary. I hope you're all doing well. Tomorrow I'm going to have my final shot of the vaccination, and then I'm done. So cool. Anyway, this is everything I have for you today. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye.